It is 6:17 a.m. Welcome to the Norm Kent Show on this Tuesday, February 9th, 1993. And in a world where sports no longer dominates the headlines as sports news, Bobby Humphries, the Dolphins running back who led us into the Super Bowl with a superb game in the playoffs against a team that I no longer remember and doesn't really exist anymore, the San Diego Padres or Chargers, I forget which. Bobby Humphries shot yesterday in Alabaster, Alabama. Says his buddy who shot him, Bobby was driving fast and crazy. He was acting crazy, too. He was going to kill us both. I shot him, but I had to shoot him. He was going to hurt somebody real bad, but Bobby Humphrey wasn't badly hurt. After all, the running back was only shot in the right thigh. Oh, what a wonderful world. Now, I think that's the kind of song... That's the kind of opening I, Norm Kent, needed to play before I did Obla Di Obla Da. I needed to run with that and then say, what can I tell you, folks? Life goes on. Only 8 days ago in Columbus, Georgia, police arrested Bobby Humphrey on charges of cocaine possession and aggravated assault after a loud fight in the street between him and another buddy of his. And Humphrey, who's saying he doesn't intend to press charges against Petties, has been scheduled to meet with Dolphins coach Don Shula today to discuss his rather uncertain future with the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is after getting arrested for cocaine possession, driving like a nut, and getting shot. His agent says, well, I know that substance abuse is not his problem. Right, I'll believe that. I'll really, really believe that. Okay, meanwhile, I was really pissed off yesterday at Joe Zagacki of WQAM, and I was getting all set to call him. Because on my way back from West Palm Beach, where, oh, God, I have to go right after the radio again today, I was cruising back down I-95, and, it was a choice between listening to Steve Kane talk about how he's macing people or Joe Zagacki talk about sports. All right, so I'm on QAM, right? And I'm listening to Joe, and he's saying that Bobby Humphries is being really uncooperative with the police, and I got really pissed off. And I turned him off because I was so pissed off. I mean, wait a second, the attorney in me went. What do you mean Bobby Humphries is being uncooperative with the police? You mean he's not talking to the police? Didn't sit well with me. Kind of, stuck in my gut. I said, Self, he's not being uncooperative with the police. He's exercising his constitutional right to remain silent. He's exercising his Fifth Amendment right not to implicate himself. He's exercising a wise and noble historical right that evolves from the days of the Inquisition when people were tortured until they testified against themselves. We instilled this right that people have a right to remain silent in America. And there was Joe Zagacki, the sports buff, and he should be in the nude, really, from QAM, getting up there saying, Bobby Humphries continuing to be uncooperative with the police. Well, screw the police. He wasn't being uncooperative with the police. He was exercising his constitutional right to remain silent, a right each of us have an opportunity at any time to exercise. Enough said. Enough said. Enough said on that. Second in the news, right out of Terror City, and I'm not sure which is worse, the shootings on I-95 or the way Channel 7 has begun to cover them. Joel Cheatwood, if you were a little kid and I could spank your ass, I would. He's the producer down there at Channel 7. And, Sally Fitz and Rick Sanchez and Pearl Bailey and all those people down there broadcasting it, they're part of the hyped-up sham. Did you see those features they, just bombarded the news with between 5 and 8 as if they were doing a Rocky Horror Show, as if they were doing... what's that guy, Fred Krieger, Halloween the 48th? It was something out of a horror film, Terror on the Interstate. And they don't just say, Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special bulletin. We have shootings on I-95. Police patrols are out investigating this sudden rash of incredibly shocking killings that are going to affect and impact dramatically on the community. And let me tell you, folks, as I went to work this morning, I thought about coming packed. I thought about carrying my rod. I thought about coming loaded. I thought about sitting as I was driving to work with the gun at my side, pointed over my left shoulder at anyone that came within 20 yards of me. But instead, I decided to bring one of my guard dogs and have him, with the window open, alert me to anybody approaching. I figured it's the only way to live safely in this world. You know, that's what I'm beginning to think about, how desperate this community is coming, how frightening it is to live here, how shocking that these kind of things go on. But then it occurred to me that if you've ever seen picket fences, it happens everywhere. And by the way, Phyllis and Barry and Murray, the polygamists, and all three of you, we have the tapes here back for you. And yes, it was a very interesting episode. It's not every man that sleeps with his daughter, not every town that has a guy who sleeps with ducks, not every girl that has symbiotic twins she sleeps with. Very weird show. Picket fences, I commend it to you, absolutely. Kind of does to Twin Peaks what Rocky Horror Picture Show does to Rocky and Bullwinkle. So anyway, here I am going to work, and I'm saying, my God, should I take a gun? I have to drive I-95 today to go to West Palm Beach, and I'm thinking how crazy and desperate this world is. And yes, it's hard to believe, but the only thing more terrible than the despicable shootings on I-95 had to be Channel 7's sick coverage of it. I mean, what do they think they're doing here? Don't they realize this is real life? Don't they realize that Miguel Caceres' son is really dying in a hospital at the age of 21? That they run these headlines, terror on the interstate, like they're promoting some fear-mongering movie in a cinema? Where are they coming off to call themselves the news station? If they want to call themselves the hype station, if they want to call themselves the incredibly we're going to get you scared out of your mind station, it's one thing. But am I wrong? Is there anybody here that would disagree with me? I challenge you, Rick Sanchez, as you cruise from Cooper City to work, to call me, or Sally Fitz, or Toady Fields, or anybody who's working down there at Channel 7 in the production, cinema, the photography room. Anybody, I challenge you, I defy you to call me. Is this the what Walter Cronkite, if he would, I bet he wishes he were dead. I'm telling you, I'm glad for the sake of that big guy that was here for many years and he drank too much alcohol, Ralph Rennick did. But he would be turning over in his grave if he saw what Channel 7 was doing with these shaking headlines, bold and frightening and screaming back and forth, terror on the interstate every 40 seconds. My goodness, you know, when they were splitting away to KTLA in Los Angeles to cover that hostage situation where that sicko took over General Hospital, do you realize they were reveling in it? Like they were smirking, they were smiling, they were glorifying in it. They were so excited that they had a breaking story that involved death. You almost wanted to cheer them on. You thought you were like in a Roman rink and there were gladiators fighting with swords and you were there in your sheets with the sandals and grapes and there was a woman by your side who maybe was under the sheets doing things that we later declared to be constitutionally improper in public. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I have never seen anything like Channel 7 News in the history of mankind, unless it's Steve Kane and Heat about Kathy Willits turning this into All Inquirer Radio when he thinks he has a new sponsor and he wants to get in the thick of the news and he knows he's out of the loop. And the only way he could do it is by telling Kathy Willits to come on our show once again. And it's just frightening. It's just frightening. Wow. Good morning and welcome to the Norm Kent Show. Terror on the interstate. What else? What else? I think I'll have a sip of my coffee. Take a breath. Sit back. Have a sip of your coffee. Good. Vanilla almond decaffeinated Colombian coffee, courtesy of the Grapevine Gourmet Shop located at 256 South University Drive in Plantation. Where, ladies and gentlemen, where, in case you don't know it, there is a special Valentine's Day chocolate lovers gift basket for sale, courtesy of FTL. It's the Norm Kent Chocoholic Basket. And if you've ever wanted to treat yourself to a Dionysian fantasy, an exquisite combination of richly flavored, creamy chocolate centers with luxurious Swiss chocolate shells that will more than seduce you, you go to the Grapevine and you pick up the Norm Kent Chocoholics, Chocolate Lovers, Chocolate Heaven, FTL Valentine's Day basket. It will make you fall in love. We're talking about dark chocolates with creamy dark chocolate centers and milk chocolates with soft chocolatey orange blossom centers and white confection with creamy dark chocolate inside, and then dark chocolate with creamy white filling inside. And then my favorite, milk chocolate with a soft amaretto chocolate center. Ah, les truffes d'un mariage exquis de chocolat en tout, richement parfumé et enrobé de chocolate suisses voluptueux. La truffe est linge, élevez-vous, sédorant à jamais. Can I speak French well? Because, I don't know, and I just read it. Can we call up Al and ask him to read it to us right now? Can we wake up Al Rantel? Can you get him on the phone and see if he could read this for me? Tell him I need him to translate some French for me. All right, the last thing that I'm going to talk about after doing a 15-minute spiel yesterday for Bob Butterworth to become the Attorney General of the United States of America because of his impeccable honesty, his incredible integrity, his forthrightness, and although I am, Bob, just between you and me, I'm very pissed off that you don't respond to any of my letters, and if I saw you in person, I would shout at you repeatedly and, humiliate you constantly, and I would talk about the fungus on your toes because you're really pissing me off that you don't respond to my letters and you won't come on my radio show. But, Bob, that's just between you and me, especially during the hurricane when you didn't come on my radio show, when you had your staff people call me back. I'm still very, very pissed off about it. But that's okay. I still think you should be Attorney General of the United States. I don't hold it against you personally that you didn't think FTL was important enough for you to come on because you thought we were still a 400-watt station down by the 15th Street Fisheries because you've been in Hollywood so long working the waterways you've forgotten where you were. But Bob Butterworth, as I said to many of you out there, is an outstanding individual, circuit court judge, former sheriff, temporary mayor of Sunrise. What can I tell you? The man can't hold down a job. Ahead of the Department of Motor Safety and the vehicles and things that make us drive cars around town. And then he's the Attorney General of the state of Florida and rumored to be a candidate at one point for governor. And, of course, anybody would be better than Lawton Chiles as governor because Lawton Chiles is walking around the hallways bumping into the ceilings going, you mean I can't get any more Prozac? So anyway, I'm definitely for Bob Butterworth being Attorney General. So as I come out and speak highly for Bob Butterworth, I guess Hillary Clinton is still getting her way because the new rumored candidates for Attorney General are women. And who is no one other than a woman? Let me back up and strike those last 6 words. And who, disguised as Clark Kent, but our own Dade County State Attorney, Janet Reno. Now, Janet Reno is the state attorney for the Dade County area. She comes to this task, this potential appointment, with a record of high integrity, he said questionably. It's 6:30. I'll tell you more about Janet Reno and the potential she has for being selected as Attorney General of the United States in just a minute. She did fly to Washington to meet with a group of Clinton people in the last week, and she has been immeasurably supported by Marian Wright Edelman, who is president of the Children's Defense Fund and a very close friend of Hillary Clinton. Now, Marian Wright Edelman is an individual who is very close to the White House. From Coral Gables High School to Cornell University and Harvard Law School, Janet Reno has been the state attorney since 1978, last re-elected in 1992. She has redesigned Florida's judicial system as the staff director of the Judiciary Committee. She had been a partner in the local firm of Steele, Hector, and Davis, but her career has been somewhat checkered. She has always managed to stay in the background, but Miami-Dade County, it has not been known for outstanding jurisprudence, outstanding integrity at any level. I'll tell you more about that, and we'll perhaps get Jack Thompson from Coral Gables on the phone. He was once an opponent of Janet Reno, and he says that she is a lesbian fornicator and doesn't deserve to be Attorney General. So we're going to try to get him on the phone. Because you have to remember Jack Thompson is the same person who tailed Neil Rogers for 2 years, and we had to get an injunction against him. He's the same person that hounded Luther Campbell, and Luther Campbell had to get an injunction against him. And Jack sometimes fits the credentials that, what's his name, Steve Kane wants for talk show guests. You know, people from the lunatic fringe that just push you to a wall. All right, it's 28 minutes to 7 a.m. here on FTL. This is the Norm Kent Show. We'll be right back.
WFTL Travel in the building, Dade County. We'll take a look. This time brought to you in service of Bentley's Luggage and Gifts. More than a luggage store. In Dade County, watch out for a late accident on the Palmetto Expressway. You'll find it northbound Palmetto at 25th Street.
To Storm and Norman on Florida's talk leader, AM 14 WFTL.
Okay, at 25 minutes to 7, South Florida wakes up to a Miami Herald headline that shows about insane shootings on I-95, a plan to scrap the Social Security alteration, and, of course, another very, very strange story for Bobby Humphries, the Miami Dolphins running back who was shot yesterday in Alabaster. We'll talk about that, but also above the fold on the left-hand side of the Miami Herald and the Sentinel as well reads a shocking headline. Reno high on list for Attorney General. They say that Reno is high on the list because she is a childless, single woman. She will not present the administration with a Zoe bad problem. She has a history of jurisprudence behind her. And here is the key. In the wake of the political embarrassments of the last several weeks, the new nominee, says the Herald, must have an unassailable reputation and be considered a cinch to win Senate confirmation. Said Martin Dardis, former chief investigator for Reno, she's bright, nobody can question her integrity, and I don't feel she takes a lot of political baggage with her. Well, here on the Norm Kent Show, where we like to break the news, we have somebody who wants to question Janet's integrity and question her ability as the state attorney, as well as a candidate for attorney general. In 1988, when she last had an opponent, it was Coral Gables attorney John B. Thompson, Jack Thompson, who ran against her. And Jack is now a guest on the Norm Kent Show early in the morning here on this Tuesday, February 8th or 9th or something like that.
Good morning, Norm.
Jack, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
So what have you been working on these past few months?
Well, my wife and I have a 6-month-old boy who's kept me busy, and I've had some speaking gigs, as we say, around the country addressing the issue of the First Amendment. And by the way, it looks as though I'm going to be debating, of all people, iced tea at Columbia University later this month. That should be interesting.
Well, it certainly promises to be interesting. Jack, congratulations on the birth of your child, by the way.
Thank you. He's been a real blessing.
Okay. Let me just
I point out to your audience, you've been involved on behalf of Operation Rescue and so forth, and I now finally know, after 41 years, firsthand the blessings of a little baby. So it really has been a life-changing experience.
Well, I bet it has, and a baby boy at that, huh? Well, to you and Pat, the best. And here in the Herald today,
right,
is this. Let me just pick up on what Marty said, Marty Dardis. He said, Janet Reno is bright. Nobody can question her integrity, and I don't feel she takes a lot of political baggage with her. But now you ran against Janet Reno in 1988. Has President Clinton heard from you about your opinion of Janet Reno?
Well, he has, as a matter of fact. And integrity, as far as being on the take, no, I don't think anyone questions that. My very best friend in law school is an attorney by the name of Sam Jones, who's in the firm Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, which Clinton was a member of. And, of course, Lindsay is counselor to the president. So I sent Sam, who is also Clinton's attorney and has handled some of the legalities of the bimbo eruptions and so forth, a letter about 2 weeks ago when I heard from a member of the Justice Department that, indeed, Reno is on the short list. That's before the Zoe Baird and Kimba Wood eruptions, and in fact she's probably now on an even shorter list. And I said to the president, through our mutual friend, do Dade County a favor and please nominate Janet Reno, but do the country a favor and don't. And I delineated some of the problems I and others have with Janet Reno. For example, in our only debate during the 1988 election, Janet Reno said on television in our debate, quote, "My highest priority is to defend the rights of the guilty, not to convict them," close quote. Now, Norm, you're a criminal defense attorney. That's your job. That's the public defender's job. Her job is to prosecute. But in fact, her record here, she leads the state in the failure to convict people who are indicted. Jeff Weiner, who's the president of the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, has spoken critically of her and the wimp attitude that she and members of her office have.
You feel that Jeff Weiner's criticized her? Now, Jeff's a good friend of mine. I can verify that with him.
Jeff has criticized her relentlessly on talk radio and elsewhere, and is very critical of her lack of professionalism and frankly has called her incompetent as a prosecutor. Here's a woman who's never tried a case in her life, and yet she would be the chief prosecutor in the nation, which is one of the problems some people had with Zoe Baird, who was a corporate attorney who had never tried a criminal case. But I think on the issue of integrity, during the campaign and after the campaign, countless people have come forward to me and proven to me that Janet Reno's a lesbian. And we may disagree about whether or not someone should be in that office and have that orientation or preference, but the fact is Janet Reno's predecessor, Richard Gerstein, said, and this was in the editorial or the obituary, front page above the fold obituary, when Richard Gerstein, who was highly respected as a prosecutor, as Dade County State Attorney for years, said during his tenure, quote, "No homosexual who's in the closet be a prosecutor because of the possibility of blackmail." And
so do you feel, but you said you're not questioning her integrity, so you don't feel she's ever been blackmailed?
Oh, sure, she has.
Well, you did, actually, it comes to mind, you did write a letter about Janet Reno a few years ago, which caused a lot of controversy, didn't you?
Well, I asked her to come clean on her sexual preference.
Didn't the letter say something that, please check one of the three boxes, that A, I'm a homosexual, B, I'm a heterosexual, and C, if you check none, I'll presume you're gay, or something like that?
I've been able to go beyond the presumption, and in fact a man came forward, lives in Fort Lauderdale, who told me and his attorney that his wife left him to have a live-in lesbian affair with Janet Reno. Police have responded to a silent alarm at Reno's house and found her in a hot tub with a woman. There have been countless other people who've come forward, police officers and others, who've proven to me that she's a lesbian. So I think this is an integrity question. Is Janet Reno going to remain in the closet? And if she does, then she's got a problem.
Well, in other words, if she were to come out and say that, yes, she is a lesbian and that's why she was never married, then you would support her for Attorney General?
No, I wouldn't support her because she's got a horrible track record. Just ask Jeff Weiner.
Well, but what about the fact that
as a prosecutor, and that's the issue.
Didn't she target corrupt police officers and the Miami River cops and go after corrupt judges and public officials in the Hialeah
that's one of the great
Operation Courtroom cases?
That's one of the great scandals of her watch here. That was she handed that over to the federal jurisdiction. And it was the U.S. Attorney's Office that's proceeding in the courtroom matter in the River Cops case. That was all turned over to the feds.
Well, wasn't the investigations initiated? Weren't the investigations initiated by the state attorney's office?
Initiated and then taken over by the feds.
Well, is that because of potential conflict of interest that the state attorneys that were investigating these judges were also practicing in court in front of them?
That was what she said, but the fact is, and again, just ask Jeff Weiner, who's on your side of the ledger.
Well, I will. I'll get to ask Jeff that probably after 8 o'clock. Now, so you're feeling then that...
Let me just say that her track record as far as convictions of her office, her reputation, which is borne out by her comments saying that her job is to protect the rights of the guilty. Those are her words, not the accused. The guilty is her highest priority. So that's not the type person most people would understand that you want as a prosecutor. The Miami Herald, by the way, has called Janet Reno, quote, a frustrated social worker.
Well, Jack, let me ask you this: if her name is put out to pasture in the next 24 hours, as apparently it is going to be,
What do you mean put out the pasture?
Well, I probably came out wrong. Kind of like field tested, like they did with Kimba Wood. In fact, I have a copy of the New York Times article here,
Clinton
in which Kimba Wood's name is announced, and it said her name is being released to find out whether or not there's any baggage to be attached with her, so that the Clinton administration won't be embarrassed. Now, suppose they say that Reno is on. It's in the Washington Post. It says Reno's on the short list. Can I expect to see you on Nightline tonight? Will you be on Channel 7? Are you calling Dan Rather or Tom Brokaw to break this information to them?
Well, first of all, it wouldn't be the first time I was on Nightline, as you know.
I know, but I'm asking you whether or not this is the kind of issue, because here it says in the Herald, you're looking at someone.
Let me answer the question. I got the question. Clinton's got my letter, and through our mutual friend, he's Sam Jones, dear friend of Bill Clinton, a dear friend of mine, and he got the letter. So Bill Clinton, because of his, and you would know this probably better than I, he's beholden to the gay lobby. Janet Reno would be a perfect choice of the radical feminists and the gay lobby because she's a member of both camps. And Clinton may go ahead and shoot his other foot. If he does, I'll be delighted to rip off some of the toes.
Well, Jack, it sounds like you're ready, armed, and raring to go.
Well,
another opportunity for the national spotlight for the man who brought down Luther Campbell.
Yeah, and by the way, of all people, I'm debating Ellis Rubin Thursday night on the First Amendment at the Miami Fine Arts Center. Any of your listeners want to be there, it should be quite a show.
Ellis Rubin is going to talk about the First Amendment?
You bet.
This is a man who was so far to the right in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I thought he outlawed it for people who didn't agree with him.
Well, his clients are now to the left, I guess, but...
Well, Ellis is lucky to still have clients after his episodes last year.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
But you're actually going to debate him.
Well, it's going to be a panel of 7, but the Herald portrayed it as a debate of Ellis Rubin.
All I could say is if it's you debating Ellis Rubin, the only thing you're missing is Steve Kane as the moderator.
Yeah, well, I miss Steve. But let me say... Norm,
I wish I did.
The thing about Reno really is interesting. That would, of course, be a tremendous career move for her. And it would open up the state attorney's race down here, which, by the way, I would never run for again. But it would be a fascinating play because there are a whole bunch of people out there who know what Janet Reno's problems are and what her, more important, her ideological orientation is. She's the ACLU's favorite non-prosecutor. And it'll be quite a confirmation hearing if Janet Reno gets on the list of one. I'd say now there's a pretty good chance that might happen because Gloria Allred, who kind of is calling the tune with Hillary on these things, have insisted it has to be a woman. This is the one quota we insist upon. The next Attorney General must be a woman. She must be a feminist, Gloria Allred said last night on Crossfire. And Janet Reno as a nominal prosecutor in name only.
Well, it's too bad they just can't get a man that dresses in drag.
Well, I'm working on it.
All right, Jack, listen, we appreciate your
candor.
Candor early in the morning here. And maybe as the debate goes on and the nomination is made more available to the public and Janet Reno's name is considered, we'll see if we can't get you more airtime here on FTL to share your thoughts.
Well, give me some real airtime. Give me a slot, babe.
Well, that's far beyond the powers of mortal men like me. That's up to the Canemeister,
Norm, do we have one more moment?
Okay, we'll push the envelope. Go ahead.
As you know, I came to your defense when former grandstanding pig Nick Navarro came after you because he thought you didn't have a constitutional right to criticize him.
Yes.
As an attorney, has all of that dropped away now?
It's all dropped away. Nick Navarro's out working for defense attorneys at the moment, trying to do investigations for them.
Okay, so you can publicly thank me for coming to your defense in the name of the First Amendment against the Florida bar, a bunch of pigs themselves, right?
Well, Jack, I don't know that I'd call all the Florida bar a bunch of pigs as you have, but we certainly do appreciate your support back there.
Thank you, Norman. Okay. I appreciate you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much. Where is Lee Greenwood and the chorus that we need to play? Ah, boy. Jack Thompson, at every level, just a classic individual. Wanted to give him the full breadth and opportunity to communicate his thoughts. I'll respond in just a minute. With age comes wisdom. And that's why I don't place that much credibility in what Jack has to say. but he can be persuasive at times. And I can too. That's why I recommend to you the Discovery Cruise Line, offering smart seniors.
TL.
Okay, it's about 7 minutes to 7. We're here today with Dodger because as I was getting ready to leave for work after the early morning jog with daylight and chocolate, Dodger disappeared. He wasn't there. And that's why we sometimes call him runaway, nightmare, bad dream, headache. And I had to go cruising up and down the streets of Victoria Park looking for him. So he's here in the studio today. Dodge, would you like to say hello? What do you say? What do you say, Dodge? Speak to me. Speak a little, Dodge. Come on. Say hello. A little louder. A little louder. Right into the mic. Okay, good boy. So we got Dodger with us this morning in the studio. And we really didn't bring the dog with us because we were thinking about I-95 shootings, just in case you heard me earlier. Well, all right. Treat and a bonus for you, Jack Thompson. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Jack Thompson. All up. Now, I don't know. When I said that Dade County State Attorney Janet Reno would probably not be the best person in the world to be Attorney General of the United States, it's because the history of Dade County has not been one of, what's the word? Really sophisticated prosecution. You know what I mean? I think that Dade County has a checkered history in the past 14 years. I think we've seen crime increase dramatically. I think we've seen people go unpunished often. I think we've seen the justice system at times inept. And I have no real feel for what's going on down there, other than to say that when I am sometimes in the courtrooms of Dade County, I think it is governed by utter chaos, that if I have individuals charged with criminal acts, I would be a lot more fearful of a prosecution in Palm Beach and Broward County than I would be Dade County. That is to say that the courtrooms of those two counties where I practice law run a lot more efficiently than those in Dade County. And when I look for an attorney general to govern all the branches of the United States Attorney's Office, what I want more than anything else is not a man or a woman, a black or a white, a gay or a straight. I want an efficient corporate administrator who will get the halls of justice to deliver justice, not to do, as Lenny Bruce once said, the only justice in the halls of justice is in the halls. Let's go to line one. Good morning.
Norman.
Yes.
I think this morning you just now came as close as you probably ever will to being blessed by George Bush, because if you play back the last two lines of Thompson, when he says, "God bless you, Norm," and "God bless America," I could have sworn it was Bush. It was hysterical. Same tone of voice, same things George Bush would say. Pretty neat.
Do you know anything
about?
Do you know anything about Jack Thompson's history?
But of course, through you.
I mean, see, now there are times when I get on the air with him and we do nothing but shout at each other. But I really here am giving you some keen insight to something that's going to be played out on the national stage.
Oh.
I guarantee you that if if Janet Reno gets nominated as the Attorney General of the United States of America by Bill Clinton, within 24 hours, Jack Thompson will be on national news accusing her of being a lesbian who stays in hot tubs with other women, that he will be on Nightline. If there's anything Jack does well, it is a knack for getting public and national attention drawn to him. He has a 24-hour fax machine that runs nonstop. He has the ability to communicate with everybody from here to the Des Moines, Iowa Monitor. Every national news agency and service is programmed into his computer to speak. You know, within 24. Now, here's the thing, and this is why.
I hear you now, right?
Here's the thing. What?
He's just being wasted because he can't hear you now. He's in Miami, right?
Oh, he can't hear but he knows what I feel. He knows what I'm going to say. Here's the real deal here. If Janet Reno gets nominated, he's going to run a slander campaign. There was a point in time when I was representing Neil Rogers in 1990 that I met with Janet Reno's counsel about filing a slander complaint against Jack Thompson. And Janet Reno's counsel said, Norman, as much as she appreciates the thought of you or someone else doing this on her behalf, the bottom line here is that she shies away from publicity and attention. She's only interested in running the office, which in Dade County is a hard enough task. I mean, Janet Reno has had to preside over the influx of Mario Litos, the incredible amount of crime in the early 80s, unbelievable corruption by police officers, by state attorney.
Before the news.
You know, it's been a terrible and rough administration for
A quick correction before you break. He's wrong, because the last I heard on the news was that Clinton was not going to just look for a woman at this point in time. Okay, so I correct Jack Thompson on that, and I would have liked to have put to him his opinion on your nomination, which I wanted to send your name up to Clinton, frankly.
Who? Me?
So I'd like to know what his opinion would have been. And also, if after the break, I don't think I've ever heard your opinion on immigration. I'd like to hear that. So I'm hanging up, and maybe you can get to that after the news.
All right. If I come back to that, we will certainly be talking about Social Security on Thursday. But anyway, all I'm telling you is that if Janet Reno is nominated, you're going to hear some paper in Kansas is going to be talking about the fact that she's rumored to be a lesbian. And you know what? So what if she... Well, they'll say, how can you enforce laws against sodomy if you are? Well, don't enforce them. That's what I say. 7 a.m. We'll be right back.
The USA.
Florida's talk leader, AM 14, WFTL.
At 8 minutes after 7, welcome back to the Norm Kent Show on this, a Tuesday, February 8th, 1993. And I don't know where to pick up after hearing Jack Thompson condemn the potential nomination of Janet Reno as Attorney General of the United States, the potential nomination, the Clinton administration putting her name out with feelers today. And I guess where we should probably start if we're going to have a serious discussion of the Attorney General's office is we have to acknowledge that the Clinton transition team, the group of James Carville et al., really screwed this one up. First of all, the Attorney General should have been picked long ago, long before Christmas. And how 1 month into his administration we don't have an Attorney General of the United States, it's just unfathomable. It's laughable is what it is. And this matter is causing us as a nation to lose a sense of focus about critical issues, because you see today in the Miami Herald, Bob Graham, the governor, former governor, well, he was the former governor. This happened when he was governor. Bob Graham, the former governor of the state of Florida, and now United States Senator for Florida, has announced, are you ready, that he too, really, Bob Graham has announced that he too has a Zoe Baird, Ron Brown problem. That he had maids and people that he didn't pay Social Security taxes on. And the White House said yesterday, gee, we better set up some sort of new standard. We better readdress this another way. We're going to have to look at this again more closely, decide what to do about all this. And I'm just wondering what you think we should do, whether or not you think perhaps that Kimba Wood should have had her name left in nomination, that we are all beginning to unjustly overreact, that we're, what was that I said, much ado about nothing. But there it is, Bob Graham announcing he too has this problem, and just what the hell are we going to do? How do we come up with a realistic plan for understanding that many people may have indeed at one point or another employed illegal aliens without knowing about it? That we went ahead and just hired people thinking they were good help, and we didn't question them about their nationality or citizenry. I know I didn't when the person who came to clean my home was introduced to me. It never even occurred to me to begin to ask where she was from or whether or not she had a green card. I just looked upon it as casual labor. You know how people who clean your house come to you? It's a one reference through another reference, and you find out if the person's trustworthy, and then if they come back on a regular basis, you just kind of go with the flow. And, this is just like all unreal. And the tax laws, Nat Triggerbuff called in yesterday, he talked about the absurd tax laws of who works for you and who's an independent contractor. You see, if a cleaning lady comes with her own broom and her own soap and her own mops, pans, then they're independent contractors and you don't pay any taxes on it. Flip side, if you provide the mops and the soap and the water and the brushes and the brooms, why then you're supposed to pay taxes on it. The guy who comes to clean your carpet and comes in with one of those trucks and those hoses, you aren't supposed to pay taxes on that. He's not a Social Security employee of yours, even if he comes once a week. That's an independent contractor. The guy who comes and cleans your pool, he's an independent contractor. You don't pay taxes on him. So how the hell do you know? And how did you know? And isn't it inappropriate to go up to people and ask them what their nationality is when you hire them? Isn't that one of the things you're not allowed to do under the law? Are you black? Are you white? Are you gay? Are you straight? Are you male? Are you female? We're not. All the ads are supposed to be anti-sexist, anti-discriminatory. Well, go figure this whole mess out. Boy, we get caught up. Americans do. They're probably laughing in Europe. Imagine what they're saying in England, the land of the butler and valet. Good morning.
Good morning, Norman. You're asking a lot of questions, but as an ACLU lawyer, you know the answers to all those questions. Why don't you answer them? Laws of ACLU lawyers go for the law no matter what. And the law is the law. Am I right?
No, you're not.
I'm not right.
No, you're not right. You're very rarely right. You're usually sarcastic, insulting, demeaning, but very rarely right. What I'm doing is sharing with you a very, very real and perplexing problem that America has awoken to, taking into account, in fact, that this is a situation that many, many people have been unknowingly involved in, because very few people are acquainted with the tax laws or the requirements thereof, that the laws changed in 1986 and 1987, that some people are technically independent contractors and some aren't, and there was no way of knowing. And candidly, with respect to my maid, I thought she was a black woman who lived in Lauderhill. I had no idea she was from another country. I had no idea that she may have been an illegal alien. I had no idea whether or not she was married. What the hell do you think I did? Put her through a rigorous polygraph before I hired her to come clean my house?
Well, my point is that our laws are so. If you really want to, how far do you want to go out into interpreting a law? If you want politicians that are absolutely, positively squeaky clean,
I don't expect it.
Well, the point. Well,
in fact, I think they're a dichotomy. It's like military intelligence.
Well, the penalty,
you have politicians, you're not going to get squeaky clean.
Well, the penalty is you're going to get mediocrity in government. Because anybody that never made a mistake in his life never did anything, never tried anything. And that's the point I'm getting at. you scrutinize. They scrutinize every politician to the point of ridiculousness, like this case, and you're going to get nothing. You're going to be no politician that worth the salt that with any kind of a gumption will be up there protecting our rights in our country, and that's what we're looking for now. That's what the bottom line is. My point is that nobody could run the gauntlet of scrutiny the way many people who've got their own agenda put them through, and the law is on their side, and that's my point. And
okay, well, thank you for making it.
Right.
All right. Once again, I have no idea what Jack said, but what the hell, he said it. Did I talk earlier about my friend Jerry at Jerry's Drugs, located at the northwest corner of Oakland Park Boulevard and University Drive in the city of Sunrise? What it's like to be a local pharmacist in 1993. An old-time neighborhood pharmacist, the kind of guys you'd see on Knott's Landing and in Mayberry and in picket fences. You know, Jerry gets to know you. He gets to know your personal habits, your personal needs. He is aware, if you buy all your prescriptions from him, what you're taking. So he'll be able to tell you about the interactive effects of certain drugs. You can't just take Anacin if you're taking niacin. You can't just take Fulvicin if you're taking Darvon. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the hell all these drugs do when they mix together, but Jerry does. And that's what you need. You need a pharmacist who is sick. In today's edition of the New York Times, reports indicate that all candidates for the hundreds of government jobs subject to Senate confirmation are now being asked whether they ever hired illegal aliens or violated tax laws on household workers. Clinton administration officials told the Times that at least a dozen people had been dropped from consideration over these issues. Now, what happens to those who were already confirmed and suddenly have this problem? That's what I want to know. And what happens to those people who have been in the administration in the past that have this problem? I'd like to know that also. And how do we reconcile the fact that this is an administration of young people who may have smoked marijuana and broken the law, who may have protested in demonstrations and broken trespass and disorderly conduct laws, who may have, over the course of the years, been involved in adulterous relationships during our free love generation? I mean, aren't we overdoing it? Aren't we pushing this to the extreme? I think we ought to back up, pull in the reins, retreat, and renominate Kimba Wood and say, okay, look, this is a problem very few of us knew about, very few of us cared about or did anything about, and we just are not going to make it an issue or focus. You know, purity and puritanicalism in government just ain't gonna fly. We really can't expect perfection. We can demand excellence, but we can't expect perfection. And the bottom line is, can they do the job? You know, how can I say this? Asking somebody whether or not they may have paid Social Security taxes on some household worker for the last 6 years is like asking every waiter if they've paid every single dime of income taxes on every dollar they've earned. It's asking every restaurant owner whether they've declared every dollar they took in. We all know what's going on. You know, for a long time the world functions and government functions, it's like us against them. We all pay our taxes voluntarily, and we pay as little as we can legally. Why overpay the government? You know, you want to. Well, I overpay all the time because I'm late and I pay these incredible penalties. They probably love me. 20%, is that what? If you're 30 days late, but you know what? The government, it comes up. I mean, these tax laws and these I can't even articulate this with any common sense. I mean, this is such a bunch of crap. Can you imagine if we all have to go back and determine whether or not the guys, if you own a pool, the people who clean your pool, and household workers, what else? What about the people who groom your dogs? Do you have to check out their citizenship, too? Just don't know. Who else would qualify? Good morning.
Good morning, Norm. This is Bill.
All right, Bill.
I noticed you're talking about a lot of different ways to deal with the situation, but how about the one that seems to be the most fundamentally correct? And that is, have the people who write laws learn how to write them with more precision. One of the problems that we're seeing now is the result of this spasm, orgasm, or what do you want to call it, of lawmaking, where people write laws and they have all these unintended side effects. I don't think anybody who wrote the laws involving immigration and taxing and so forth intended it to go this far. I think they intended to try to use that as one more way to get undocumented aliens into the mainstream by making sure that employers, don't encourage and don't continue the situation. But again, they wrote the law poorly, and it goes and employs to all employment instead of really, I think they were intending to go after the commercial type thing. The real problem is, in my opinion, legislators who are not trained and not well versed in how to properly write a law.
Well, that's certainly got a lot to do with it. Here's the.
But it's not in the best interest of the lawyer fraternity to get it fixed, because it's only through the writing of very bad laws or very poorly worded laws that a lot of litigation takes place, and we all know that nobody really wants to put our poor lawyers out of a lucrative part of their practice, do we?
Well, here's what we've just found out from former governor, now Senator Graham, that during the time he was governor, from 1978 to 1986, he had U.S. citizens caring for his daughters, and that they did take care of his children, and taxes were paid, okay? However, apparently the house cleaner he had in 1990, well, I can't even say this with a straight face, he has to reimburse the IRS $300 for the cleaner's benefits for the past 2 years and pay another $75 in penalties. It's kind of like consciousness raising, Graham said. I have to respond as other people have.
Yeah, but you ask another interesting question. What about all of the people who have already been appointed or approved? What about all the people who have been serving in government? This is the result of micromanaging, one of the things that the Republicans have been very much against all these years. And you don't create a harmonious society by regulating every little aspect of things in such a way as you create these unintended side effects. I made my point, I guess, and I wish you good morning.
Okay. All right. You know what you can think of along the way? If anybody, what other classification or category of economic crimes might we all be committing and not even knowing it? I just don't know. Bob, you're on FTL. Good morning. Hello. You're not on FTL. Well, Bob isn't even there. Oh, well, let me tell you more about the grapevine then. We're almost at that time with Valentine's Day coming up that you're probably thinking about the gift you want to gift, the gift you want to give to your loved one. Just don't let your wife find out. And I'm thinking that if you call up my friends Paul and Carol at the Grapevine at 475-1357, you will have an opportunity.
AM 14 WFTL and more with Storm and Norman Kent.
Okay, it's 7:32, 90 minutes left in the show, 90 minutes gone by, and I'll take a couple of calls, and then I'm going to kind of restate a monologue I had earlier. The Norm monologue from this morning I thought was particularly apropos as it applied to Channel 7. First, we'll see if Doris has anything to contribute.
Morning, Norman.
Well, it sure doesn't. Oh, this is Bob.
Yes, Norman.
Yes.
I forgot that bread
Okay, forget that bread and forget that sponsor. We're not going to talk about him. Let's go to Doris and see if she has anything to continue.
Hi, good morning, Norm.
Yes.
I'm going to get a hold of Joyce, and I think we'll come down and bid on you that night.
Oh, for the mail auction, February 11th.
I think if Joyce and myself and, we'll get up enough money, we'll make you top whatever.
Make me topless, huh?
No. Okay, now listen, if these people knew about the tax and they thought they could get away with not paying it, they're crooks.
No, they didn't know. No, it wasn't against the law. Nobody understood
Attorneys, they're attorneys. They know.
No, they're not. No, you got it all mixed up.
It's in the newspaper every day. Green card. They hire...
Not in 1985 and not in 1986, and people come to your house, and even the laws with 1099s didn't apply back then.
No, I think they knew, and they thought, like most of us, we all try to get away with a little something, whether it's, crossing after the light is turned yellow. We all do. And if they didn't know, they're incompetent, really. To say you're an attorney and to be aspiring to an office to serve the public, you're either incompetent or you got a bit of larceny.
If you had any idea how complex and confusing the laws were, and you understood that most of this, if you're a person of substance, is turned over to your accountant, and he tells you what to do, and you just sign on the dotted line, and you do whatever they say, and you're not... Do you think Leona Helmsley had any idea of what taxes she owed? The woman owned 20 hotels. She had 35 accountants. She had 14 law firms. She was signing billions of dollars worth of bills and checks, and she didn't even sign them. And yeah, I know she made comments like only the little people pay taxes, but the woman paid $4.8 billion in taxes, and they still put her in jail.
Well, I still say, if you don't know to the running of your own home when it's so important when you're in the public eye, and listen, when you say that it's not important if they made these little mistakes, Charlie Manson is out in prison, and he's studying law.
There's a difference between the mass murder and serial killings of other human beings and not knowing whether the person that mops your floor is from Grenada or Jamaica. Thank you.
Okay.
Jenny.
Hi, dear. Listen,
Hello.
I'm going to have to exhume, somebody's going to have to exhume the bodies of all the gardeners, the help, the au pairs. We used to hire in Massachusetts. We used to hire kids from colleges. And they used to come, they did snow removal, they did gardening.
Yeah, do you realize that every one of you from up north that ever hired an 18-year-old kid to shovel the snow off your driveway, you're going to have to pay back taxes for that kid now?
I'm telling you, and wait a minute, several of these kids that were in the colleges that went to Boston College, of which I live near.
And what about all those paper boys who deliver the newspaper to your house in the morning?
Absolutely. Several of them have become very prominent lawyers that are in Boston. And I'm saying, and I'm laughing to myself, they've run for office, they're in office. I mean, this is crazy, absolutely crazy. It has become so microscopic. The journalists they literally are just going and wanting to eat up anything that they can breathe in the air. And it's terrible. If you see CNN, Pat Buchanan is sitting there. As far as I'm concerned, he always looks like he has a very bad stomachache.
Listen, I confess, it just occurred to me as I'm speaking to you that at the Sports Art Gallery, formerly Baseball Heaven, in the Gateway Shopping Center in Fort Lauderdale, for the last 3 years, I've had some guy, kind of like a homeless guy, he just kind of walks through the shopping center once a month, and for $3 a month, he scrubs the front window clean. And that's a good $36 a year, a good $108 over the last 3 years, and I haven't paid my $6.20 Social Security taxes on him. So, if he's not in an AA program right now, I'm going to have to get his name, address, Social Security number, do an amended 1040XX and 942 and 941 and Social Security SS4 and give him a W4 and a W2 and declare that I owe the government at least $6.88 times 30 cents a month penalty. And I think I'm looking at sending the government another good $22.
Absolutely. If we're sending you to Washington, you better be careful.
Yeah, I got to go back and find these guys, whoever they were, and get their Social Security numbers. And, it kind of like when the phone company or the post office, if you overpay them and they send you back a check for 20 cents and they put... You ever see this, the phone company, if you put money in a slot machine or something there, they call a phone booth, and you lose your quarter? They mail you back a quarter. They mail you back a check for 25 cents with a 29-cent envelope.
Yes, and it's very funny. Well, they're just scrutinizing, Norm. They're absolutely. It's become out of hand, and too much of a good thing. And this is really crazy. And I would love to get whatever the names of. You mentioned the two names, yes, Zoe and what's her name, Bemba?
Zoe and Kimba. I don't think Janet Reno can get nominated as Attorney General because her first name isn't weird enough.
It's absolutely too white bread.
Yes.
But Norman, it's really too far. And what you're saying, they wanted last night on Crossfire the lawyer. How does she pronounce her name?
You know what would really be funny? You know what would really be a kick in the ass? And this, did you hear Jack Thompson earlier?
Yes.
Here's what would be a collective kick in the ass to this nation. If Zoe Baird and Kimba Wood, having had their names withdrawn as the nominee for Attorney General, were to sit back now and Janet Reno were to get nominated by Bill Clinton, and then she was flat out asked whether or not she was a lesbian, and she said, yes, I am. This is hypothetical because I have no idea what her sexuality is. But here's the Clinton administration, desperate to avoid any sense of embarrassment, but yet having made inroads and reach out to the gay community. If Janet Reno were to say, yeah, that's true, I've been a lesbian for 15 years, do you have any problem with that? What would the Clinton administration do? They'd have to stand by her now. They couldn't do a thing.
Well, their hands are really tied.
I think actually I don't know that Janet Reno would ever say that, and I don't know if it's true, and I don't know whether it's just that John Thompson wanted to find some crazy issue to run against her with, and everybody knows that, John Thompson, all the oars aren't in the water, all the croutons ain't in the salad, all the Caesar ain't quite there, all the dressing's not there on that man. He loses it now and then. You should see what happens when you disagree with him. But that would be a real interesting thing.
Well, I think that they should have a recall.
I kind of would like that.
At get Kimba back.
I think if Kimba Wood were recalled, she would win by unanimous proclamation that she did nothing illegal or improper, that the Clinton administration was afraid of the backlash that would occur following the Zoe Baird nomination. But in fact and in truth, the backlash is against the Clinton administration for withdrawing her name. And now, I bet women's groups are just, first they said it was discrimination against women's groups, and Patricia Ireland, the president of NOW, was on nationwide TV saying that women are being discriminated against. But I don't suspect that to be so. I think there are probably a lot of men squirming immeasurably in their seats now, from Senator Bob Graham to Ron Brown and others, who are suddenly going to be confronted with an identical question, and the kicker is, I just want to wait and see what happens when one of these people are asked this question. Are they going to be able to turn around and say, well, I don't know, I didn't hire domestics, my wife handled that, and lay it all off on the woman?
This is so funny. Pot is going to be infinitesimal. Carousing is going to be infinitesimal. This is what's in the forefront now.
This is what
something else.
This goes to something that was said at the B'nai B'rith Justice Lodge breakfast the other day, that Mike Satz, who's the state attorney of Broward County, Bill Clinton's the president of the United States, but he couldn't pass a polygraph to work in Mike's office. Okay.
Thanks, Norm.
Let's go to Gary.
Good morning, Norman.
The conscience of a Republican.
Listen, just of an American.
Did you hear the...
but just a little footnote to her life. That did you know that she was trained to be a Playboy bunny?
Do you know that yesterday I said America really doesn't care about what's going on in Somalia? Americans that listen to talk radio aren't upset about the Attorney General. We're upset when we can't get the blue out of the whites in our laundry. Now, I'm wearing a brand new shirt. I just got back from the dry cleaners, and I'm looking at the cuffs, and there's a green stain on it. How am I going to go to court in front of U.S. District Court Judge Ann Vitunik with a stain on my brand new cuffed shirt with French cuffs and my FTL cufflinks? This is shocking.
Roll them up.
I'm just stunned.
Or roll them under.
This is what America needs to worry about. Why can't we get clothes back from the cleaners with all our buttons intact? Why is it that whenever you go out and buy a new suit, one of the cuffs comes back improperly hemmed? Why is it that when you go for a hot cup of coffee in the morning, the coffee's not hot enough? Why is it that when you go to a restaurant, as Craig Worthing points out so well, you can never get a cold glass of milk? Why? Why can't you get a straw with water? Just what is America coming to?
Why is it that we changed the subject?
What were you talking about?
Playboy Bunny, Kimba Wood.
Oh, this is a bunch of crap. You know what she did?
It's not a bunch of crap. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's nothing traumatic. It just would make for a lot of editorial jokes and.
So Jay Leno would have a lot of fun. She went.
That's all.
So it's wrong for a woman to be good looking?
Not at all. I think that's a great plus for her.
Thousands and thousands of men and women haven't sometime during a vain portion of their lives gone to a modeling studio and had pictures done of them thinking that they could be the next Bill Cosby on television. The point that sticks to my mind is that she went to one of these training sessions that she enrolled on a Monday, and by Friday she dropped out. So how was that a consequential aspect of a life of a woman who has worked with the Children's Defense Fund, that has stood up for the American Cancer Society, that has volunteered? I mean, it's just incredible. It's almost like McCarthy witch hunting to suggest that she might have even been tainted or disqualified because of the fact that she spent 4 days thinking about life as a Playboy bunny. To think that would taint or disqualify her is just shocking.
Well, Norman, I know it was so long ago that I brought this subject up, but you also have to remember I started the conversation saying it was not a traumatic thing at all, just that she would be the brunt of a lot of jokes if it would have happened. I think it's cute.
Well, I think
just wanted you to know what a beautiful lady would have been there. I'll talk to you later.
I think it would have been great. We could have We could have a special new 12-month administration calendar, and Kimba Wood could have graced the front cover.
But there is one possible danger if it would have happened. There are a lot of ifs. Could you picture her and Clinton at a meeting with his appetite for beautiful women?
Oh, you cruel.
Oh, I'm so bad.
You're so bad. All right, it's about 14 minutes before 8 a.m. I got to tell you, this is just... the whole thing is becoming a little bit blown out of proportion. Everything's becoming blown out of proportion. Everything. We're all getting sidetracked. It is. I tell you, I'm just laughing because, Bill Clinton, he must be losing it. I'm telling you. He came into this office with all these great promises, and we may get around to talking about the economy sometime in 1994. Okay, it's about 14 minutes to 8 a.m. You know what? I think we just all need a relaxing night at the cabaret. That's right, the cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. I don't have to say anything. I can just let Brian play the music. That'll work for me. 467-3456 for reservations to the cabaret. An evening of elegance, of female impersonation, of a magical mystery tour back to Paris in the 1920s. The cabaret boasts an elegant but cozy and intimate theatrical environment, rich fabrics and bold colors embellished by precise lighting and etched glasswork create an atmosphere of sophisticated glamour. 250 guests comfortably seated in direct view of the center stage, and additional seating available at the main bar, a menu of light dining favorites, and yes, the cabaret. Your favorite stars such as Judy Garland, Barbra Streisand, Dionne Warwick all come to life. The cabaret offers new and exciting shows. What you saw yesterday is not what you will see today. So call them up 1 block east of the Broward Center for the Performing Arts, 467-3456. 467-3456 for the cabaret.
With whom I shat for sordid
Florida's talk leader, AM 14, WFTL. Now back to Storm and Norman on Florida's talk leader, AM 14, WFTL.
Okay, 10 minutes to 8 a.m., and I am beginning to get concerned that the national debate is focusing improperly on absurd tangents instead of laser lights on the economy. Let's go to line 2. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
How you doing?
How are you, Gloria?
I'm fine. Well, I'm kind of like you. I feel like this is much to do about nothing. I think that Zoe Baer brought the standards up. She brought the issue up, and after her, they feel compelled to ask everybody, and they have dismissed a man, which no one has focused in on that, the same as they did this lady, Kimba Wood. As for Ron Brown, they didn't ask him the question, and so he should not be removed from his office, from his post. They didn't ask him that question. Now, I think that he knew for years when he was paid, when he had someone working for him, I don't know whether it was 3 hours a week or whatever, but he knew automatically because he is a lawyer that he should have paid Social Security tax on this person if the person drew a regular salary from him. But just like someone coming and cleaning your yard or cleaning your house one day a week, I think it's a call you have to make on your own. I don't make an issue of it. And it's just that now people are more heightened. The sense of
consciousness is raised.
Right, their consciousness is raised, and they're wondering. But I think it's petty, and I think it's what you call it sour grapes. The Republicans, they're licking, they're chopping. You know what I mean? They're just licking their chops now.
Oh, no, you don't. This is not a Republican or Democratic issue.
Yeah, but
because believe me, the Republicans are probably the reason guys like Orrin Hatch and Bob Dole and others said that the Zoe Baird situation was not a problem was because they knew that they too were tainted when it came to this issue.
Probably.
And they sure weren't going to raise it because the specter and sword would have daggered themselves as well. Daggered themselves.
No, you're right.
Okay?
Yes, you're right. But I also think that maybe these people should turn the question back on these reporters, such as Lisa Myers, who asked questions, say, well, do you pay? Do you have someone coming in? Do you pay too?
Maybe that's why the reporters are asking the questions. They know they haven't.
Maybe the newspaper should start digging a little and get, they don't attack
Let's
their
see
own.
if the newspapers start disqualifying their own.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, it is something, I'm telling you. And
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Yes, and don't punish your friends because they call someone else. You know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to spell it out.
No, wait. Don't punish my friend. Oh, you teasing Bob?
Yes. No, don't do that.
I was just teasing him.
But,
okay.
We understand now. We're smart, just like the public is very smart, and we know.
Okay.
All
right. Well, Gloria, the conscience of FTL, chastising me for kidding Bob Bogart. Okay. 10 minutes to 8. All the lines are lit. Let's see if we can have something new, shocking. And can you move to your left? Let's see. We can go to Tom on a mobile.
Yeah. Did you see TV last night in the new magazine they're coming out with this month?
No, I did not.
It's called Bubba.
Bubba?
Bubba. How to define a Bubba, and on the picture on the front cover, and it'll be published quarterly, is Bill Clinton. Stories about he and Hillary inside. I'm not pulling your leg. I'm very serious.
Is this by the people who published the Dan Quayle Quarterly? They need a new target?
No, I don't know. I did. I just caught on to the very end of it when they were talking about it on TV and paid attention. But it's only going to be published quarterly, and it's something like I think I heard him say $6.95 or something like.
Well, I'll check into it.
But it's a brand new magazine, and it's called Bubba, and I think the first story inside the guy said is what you have to do to be a Bubba.
I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good day.
Bubba, a new magazine about Bill Clinton. Well, if he keeps on jogging, he's going to lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All right.
By the way, speaking about jogging, Michael Jeselnik, winner of the Hot Run, the 10K Hot Run, Sunday at Holiday Park, between the 35 to 39-year-old age group. We wish you a quick recovery. Michael hit by a car after winning the race. Broken shoulder. Get better, Mike. Let's go to line one.
Hi. Good morning,
That's
Norman.
one reason not to jock.
You know, I think the objection, my feeling about Kimba Wood, not that she did anything that was so reprehensible, but if, I don't know whether everybody's forgotten the fact, Norman, that they did ask her beforehand, did she have anything in her past that would cause embarrassment to the president?
No, they said, do you have a Zoe Bad problem? She says, no, I do not. I paid all my taxes. I employed illegal aliens when it was lawful to do so. Somebody hit the point at about 6:15 this morning, and the point that they hit, which was right on target, was that we have a plethora of laws that are interpreted differently by different accountants and lawyers, and there's questions as to whether or not somebody is in your service and under your employ, or whether or not they are independent contractors, and it is as refined as whether or not the maid brings her own broom into the house. If the maid brings her own broom, her own mop, her own pan, her own soap, why then they're independent contractors in cleaning services. But if you supply the broom, then they're not. And it's a very complex problem that frequently gets interpreted differently by different agencies. And if you say that you have to worry about maids, then you do have to worry about the guy who cleans your windows, or the guy who services your pool, or the guy who comes and shovels the walk if you're up north and you have the snow there every week. The whole thing's just a mess, and to try to stop somebody from serving in a very important role in the government because of maybe tangentially skirting these laws, I think, is literally absurd.
Well, I can't see there would be any objection. My own feeling is to Janet Reno, as far as lesbian is concerned, there's nothing illegal, there's nothing bad about it, there's nothing wrong in it. So I can't see that it should be any barring of her, of her right to serve. Is there?
I don't know anything about Janet Reno's sexual orientation. I do know that if she is nominated, Jack Thompson will do everything he can as an individual to make it an issue. And I would get a big kick out of the fact that if she were to say she was gay, that Bill Clinton would have to stand by her and push her nomination anyway.
He has to, because, he is all for gay rights. I mean, as far as Jack Thompson, who worries about what Jack Thompson says? He's a troublemaker, and this is my own feeling. I remember the Neil Rogers thing, and I remember several other things, and this is a lot of nonsense, and he likes to just be on stage, and who worries about that?
In fact, I think Jack Thompson should be on one that's leaving town in the next hour. Okay, thanks for your call.
Okay, bye.
Mary, we have less than a minute until 8 o'clock.
Well, that law was written for factory owners that were hiring illegals. That was what the law was written for.
We have a dogfight in the studio here, but go ahead.
That law was written so that people that hired large amount of people, immigrants, had to make sure that they paid their Social Security and paid everything for them. But that was the law was made for. It wasn't made to be like a Gestapo, to go into everybody's house, and if one time they hire somebody to shovel snow for $10, that you have to make out all that paperwork. That's ridiculous.
Maybe ridiculous, but it's part of this zeal that we're enforcing against ourselves right now.
I know, we're getting like Gestapo.
All right, it's 8 o'clock. We'll be back on All Gestapo Radio, Bleeding Heart Liberal. We'll be back.
The news on WFTL Fort Lauderdale, brought to you by Barron's, with 16 convenient locations from West Palm to Dadeland. Good morning, it's 8 o'clock, and this is Barron's News Minute from WFTL. The new economic forecast shows Florida will be getting more than 300...
And Darla Norman back here with you on this Tuesday morning, welcoming a new sponsor to the list of those kind enough to patronize and back the Norm Kent Show. This time it's Eyeglass Factory Outlet. Let me just tell you that anytime you can get for $29.50. Any frame in the store, complete with lenses, for single vision, you're getting a deal. $44.50 for bifocals, with exciting new fashions arriving daily. Thousands of quality, high-fashion, metal rimless, designer lookalikes with a licensed optician, Lisa, on the premises. That's right, you heard it, complete, $29.50 for single vision, $44.50 for bifocals. And there are thousands of frames to choose from. And this offer is good for almost 80 to 85% of all prescriptions. Now, there are some stronger ones that will cost slightly more, but almost 8 out of 9 people will find this deal fits them just perfectly. Let me give you their number. It's 777-3230, 777-3230. That's 3230 at 4479 North State Road 7 in Lauderdale Lakes, directly next to the Sears outlet. Hey, they give you a free ultraviolet coating if you mention the Norm Kent name. That's right, mention my name. And listen, why pay more when you can get 100% of the style at a fraction of the price? That's why I recommend you and commend you to my friends at Eyeglass Factory Outlet. Give Lisa a call today. We are back here at 8 minutes after 8 with the Norm Kent Show, and it is a pleasure to join you again for this third and last hour of my show this morning. We have spent most of the morning talking about the Kimba Wood, Zoe Baird illegal immigrant situation. And stunning news, again, in the paper today, Bob Graham admits that he, too, as governor and senator, did not fully pay all the Social Security taxes on his employees. And like Ron Brown, says that he had to go back and repay a couple of $100s to the IRS. And one wonders whether or not this whole situation isn't becoming absolutely aghast. And the headline in the newspaper today, reading from the Miami Herald, that Janet Reno is on a very short list of candidates to be considered as Attorney General. If you were with us earlier, we had Jack Thompson, her opponent in 1988 in the race for state attorney for Dade County. He did an interview, and he said that Janet Reno will come to the president with a lot of baggage because she was an ineffective state attorney who happens to be a lesbian. And, of course, none of this has ever been substantiated, but why let that stand in John Thompson's way? Anyway, the bottom line that I wanted to talk about, aside from the potentiality of Janet Reno being state attorney, is that I am getting a little bit fed up with the fact that the Attorney General of the United States has to be a woman. That should be an inconsequential aspect of jurisprudence. We have a crime problem in America, ladies and gentlemen. It is not just shootings on I-95. It is that the inner cities are torn by criminality, that the suburbs are being spotted with criminality, that burglaries are up, that juveniles have no meaning and purpose, that senior citizens are being placed in jeopardy, that there is a car burglary every 30 seconds. I am interested in somebody who will rethink the criminal justice system, be they male or female, straight or gay, black or white, tall or thin, and fat and short. I don't care. I want an individual who brings to the Attorney General's office a measure of integrity and compassion, yet incisiveness and understanding that crime needs to be dealt with in a way we have not been dealing with it before. And that's why my nomination was not Janet Reno, it was Bob Butterworth. But what the hell? The bottom line in any of these, I keep on going to the bottom line is you want somebody who's an effective administrator, who will be able to implement policies and see that they're carried out. And that seems to me to be the most important qualities we can look for in an Attorney General. Integrity, compassion, the ability to be an effective organizer and administrator, to set a goal and path and have your people working for you, follow it through. That's what we need. 12 minutes after 8, and I don't care about this women crap anymore, all right? I'm just fed up. Good morning.
Norman.
Yes.
If it turns out that Janet Reno's sexual orientation disqualifies her from being Attorney General, according to PBS, it does qualify her for being the director of the FBI.
What a great line.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a great story today when the stories on J. Edgar Hoover talk about his nights in bed with Clyde Colson wearing flounces and lace. In fact, I'm talking to my friend John Costelli over at the Cabaret. I think we're going to have somebody dress up as J. Edgar Hoover and do a number in drag.
You know, the serious side of that, which really tells you how insane and twisted people are about this subject, if the national security is at issue over gays in the military, the issue is a potential for blackmail, one that only exists because of the ban. And according to PBS, and apparently other people, and this is not, we're not talking National Enquirer here, we're talking about a fairly reputable news source on public television. Apparently he was being regularly blackmailed by organized crime, which explains why for 30 years, in spite of everything everyone in town knew, he simply denied the existence of organized crime. And he just denied it existed. And apparently the reason is because according to PBS, Meyer Lansky, and I've heard it was Frank Costello and Lucky Luciano, had compromising photos of him with Clyde Tolson in a fashion that when people called him a certain name, it apparently meant it literally.
We now know that probably to be true and verifiable. But the bottom line is that, I think the national media does put pressure on people in public life, and they decide what becomes the issues, and talk radio is deciding what's becoming the issue. And rather than talk about droll issues like the economy, it's much cuter and nicer to talk about gays in the military or people's sexual preferences. Yeah, but here's the reality as far as this gays in the military stuff goes, which is kind of like saying you have to have a woman as Attorney General. If there was a war tomorrow, okay, like if we were attacked by a foreign power, whoever the hell it was, do you think there would be any hesitancy in making every single person available to fight? Absolutely, unquestionably, incontrovertibly not. And it wouldn't matter whether the person was gay or straight or black or white or had a bad knee. We would mobilize every single resource we have, all the talent, energy, brain power, military power, manpower that we could have to fight that foreign enemy. We would do it, and we would do it unquestionably as we did it once before when we put women to work in the steel mills and children in the 1940s. The bottom line is, we're sitting back like some leisurely group in Palm Beach putting pegs in some board like we have the leisure to kick back in wealth and millionaires. It just sickens me, the whole crap, I'll tell you.
Well, the only thing I'm glad that Clinton did it early in his administration, because I believe by the time the next election, be it the presidential or congressional, comes around, this will have been in effect for 2 or 4 years. And I think the attitude of people is going to be, is that all there was to it?
Exactly. It won't even be an issue. People will be amazed that they spent so much time debating it because it will be an inconsequential factor. It will be as routine as, remember how you have to remember how controversial it was when Truman put blacks in the integrated blacks into the military in the 40s. It's just like when women wanted to get the vote in the 1920s. Everybody said the world was going to come to an end. We make a lot more importance to things than they really are.
Well, again, all that confirms one of my great theorems of life, which is that the war against the gays is the war between the gays, and J. Edgar Hoover is a perfect example of that.
Okay, well, I'm going to look for
gays in the State Department with his good friend Roy Cohn, who...
Oh, that's right.
And it was just incredible. I mean, the hypocrisy of it was beyond bizarre. It was beyond any level probably ever known, and that's apparently what was going on, and they were persecuting people for that. It just... and making people, by the way, subject to blackmail and espionage like he himself was.
Well, maybe that's why they said they didn't want gays in the military, because they themselves knew that since they could be blackmailed, they figured gays could be as well. The very first case I ever had coming out of law school, I was teaching at Florida. Actually, that's not... In Florida, I was teaching at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, and one of my students who was gay got a job with the Defense Department as a cartographer, and in order to do maps of European countries, he had to get a security clearance. and they refused to give it to him because he was gay, and they said he could be subject to blackmail. Even though he was a civilian employee in the Defense Department, they still fired him from his job because of his sexual preference. And it took 2 years, and the government wound up giving him his job back and paying him a couple of $1,000 here and there. But the amazing thing is, how could you...
the cartography department has just been a nest of spies.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. You got my point. All right, thanks for your call.
Take care.
17 minutes after 8 a.m. and Rick Melchiono, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. Boy, that was a sudden reminder from... I'll tell you, wherever Rick is, I bet you he'd like to sit back and enjoy the fact that at Brothers, the bakery, the deli restaurant, the caterers, they will cater to you whether you're gay or straight or black or white. They are family-owned and operated and have been so since 19...
It's gone.
Gone. It's back to Storm and Norman in the morning on AM 14 WFTL.
So an expose tonight on PBS, the show Frontline, the secret file of J. Edgar Hoover, reveals that this hard-nosed cop was a sexually promiscuous homosexual who fooled around with Clyde Tolson, his partner, for many, many years. And while he made his agents adhere to strict ethical and behavioral codes, he flaunted at every opportunity those very codes, and he was constantly being blackmailed by people who had taken photos of him in compromising positions. And yet it was J. Edgar Hoover who was said to have so much on John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson and presidents before them that they could never remove him from office. So who the hell's who knows what's going on? And then there was Roy Cohn, the man who was gay, prosecuting communists, purportedly, who had, during their youthful years, joined a party for a day, the way we're going after Kimba Wood for spending 3 days in a training session at Playboy. And God forgive any of you 60s activists who decided, like I did in 1972, to go off for a week or two in a commune in Boulder, Colorado, and walk barefoot in communal enterprises. Boy, I'll tell you, we're going to be eliminated for office forever. I'll tell you, it's just sad. It's sad. It's sad because, you see, I always thought the enterprise of American life was experimentation with ideas. In fact, I recall early on in my collegiate career when I was a journalist, not only for the Hofstra Chronicle, but the Nassau Herald in Long Island, we decided to publish a 4-page supplement to the weekly newspaper entitled Youthquake to capture the essence of what we called then the pop culture of youth, the 60s generation that we're supposed to be talking about tomorrow on the air here, because Steve Kane has suddenly had some nostalgic flashback, like somebody fed him LSD over the weekend and decided to do a trip on music of the 60s, and Rick is going to do politics of the 60s, and Steve wants me to do drugs of the 60s, like he thinks I actually spent the days doing drugs, which of course is a complete misconception from reality. You see, you don't play varsity baseball and varsity soccer and get up and hold a job and then work as a journalist and go to school and make the dean's list by doing LSD every day. It just didn't work that way, Steve. In fact, I venture to say, without any absolutely any qualification, that the number of drugs Steve Kane has probably done in his life in a year probably exceed more than I have done in a lifetime, which is sorry to disappoint him. And that probably goes for prescriptions as well, despite all the injuries that I've sustained and the anti-inflammatories I've had to take. But anyway, really, when you're playing hardball and you're on the varsity baseball team and a baseball is coming at you at 90 miles an hour off the bat of a baseball player and you're playing third base, the hot corner, it's really hard to groove in the color of the stitches. No, instead you need to have the quickest reflexes possible to get the ball over to first base in time to throw out what could be a very fast runner. Anyway, the bottom line. I keep on going back to the bottom line today. For some reason, I seem to feel compelled to address the bottom line. And the bottom line. What the hell am I talking about? Oh, okay. I was going to comment for like an hour on Channel 7. What a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. I just hope people from Channel 7, whether you are the broadcaster, whether you are the announcers, whether you are the photographers, whether you are the producers, how can you possibly hold your head up to the public Why do you call yourself the news anymore? Why don't you just call yourself, the National Enquirer TV station? Last night, there were a couple of tragedies to impact on our community. There were shootings on I-95 where innocent people were unjustly, incalculably just getting shot. On TV, a father crying, anguished over the fact that his son is lying near death in a hospital. And Channel 7 thinks they're promoting some new cinema just to come out of Warner Brothers every 30 seconds, flashing back and forth, terror on the interstate. And they have these shaking headlines. And then some female reporter, I don't know who the hell it was. I don't even know if Sally Fitz still works there because I can't even focus for a second on who they are or what they do. They have her driving along I-95 as millions of other people are doing, and they have a camera sitting next to her, and she's broadcasting live. I'm in fear as I drive down I-95, not knowing whether the car next to me is carrying a gun and the guy's going to shoot me. I mean, they should have. They should have blown up that station a long time ago. What they're doing to the news, I'm telling you that Walter Cronkite is choking on his nasal inhalers right now. It's unbelievable that they have a right to call this the news. I mean, they built it, and then they couldn't wait to switch back to KTLA in Los Angeles and the hostage crisis at General Hospital, and they only wish that they would have lasted through the night and 10 people were shot and they had bodies to carry out. It is just pathetic what they are doing. We are taking situations of real life and human tragedy and chronicling them like adventure movies, like Indiana Jones. Unreal. Terror on the interstate. Every 30 seconds, terror on the interstate. Terror on Channel 7. That's what the hell it is. Yeah, you talk about glamorizing something. Man, they're doing to the news what Al Goldstein could never do to obscenity with his Screw magazine. Excuse me, but that's just the way I feel. Anyway, if anybody from Channel 7 has any comment, wants to call in about it, just let me know. Janet Reno as Attorney General. And that's the nomination. That's the suggestion from, well, that's not the nomination, but she is apparently on a short list of candidates to be considered by the Clinton administration. Janet Reno is, of course, the state attorney for Dade County and has been involved in the prosecution of the Miami River cops of Operation Court Broom. Over the years, Dade County court system has certainly had to adapt to difficult situations. The question is, if you're a lawyer out there and you have experience, whether you think the Dade County State Attorney's Office has distinguished itself enough so that it would make a good sampling of what a U.S. Attorney General's office would be like if Janet Reno were at the helm. And I have some serious questions because I never believed that the Dade County court system ever functions smoothly or efficiently. I think it sometimes appears to occasionally be in utter chaos, the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing, the entire system being far too cumbersome, that the system of jurisprudence is not one that I certainly want to model my country after, and yet it is a microcosm of exactly what running the whole country would probably be like. Certainly Janet Reno could not move into the Attorney General's office in Washington, D.C., and say that she was surprised at any of the problems she would encounter in that capacity, because she probably has encountered them all here in Dade County, from the influx of Cubans to government corruption to the tainting of police officers by taking bribes through the influence of drugs and the Colombian connection, and much of what she has had to deal with here over the past 14 years is an indices of what she would have to deal with if she were to take the job of U.S. Attorney General if it were offered to her. She doesn't have any Kimba Wood or Zoe Baird problems, since she has been childless and unmarried, and rumors abound, certainly perpetuated by Jack Thompson of Coral Gables, that her sexual preference is homosexual. And if that is the case, Will then Bill Clinton be saddled with yet more baggage he doesn't want, or will this be the chance for Bill Clinton to first and finally say that whether or not her sexual preference is gay or straight is inconsequential? I'm only looking for somebody to be a great administrator, a person of integrity, somebody who can come to this office and streamline it and bring proper administration to it. Certainly she hasn't operated alone in Dade County. She's had to deal with the Dade County commissioners and the limited resources of the budgets that have been strained in Dade County. Perhaps given the chance as Attorney General, she might rise to the occasion. Certainly something to think about if one of our own were promoted to the U.S. Attorney General slot, and it's looking more and more that way with other women being so excluded. At 8:32 a.m., let me invite you to call in about the prospect of Janet Reno being Attorney General. The numbers to call in Broward are 733-1400, in Dade, 1-800-874-3454, in Palm Beach, 874-3454, star FTL on your Bell South Mobility line. You know, for a limited time, Discovery Cruises is offering a special deal for seniors 60 and over, $39.99 for Bahamas cruises Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, or just $14.99 on Tuesday or Thursday, that's tonight, for a romantic dinner party cruise. So $25 off the regular price for that dinner party cruise. And during this seniors promotion, if you get a condo group together or a group of people that play mahjong or canasta or golf or do ceramics and get 20 or more people, buses are free to and from the, what a great deal. And dinner party groups save $5 a person. And what do you get? What do you get for Discovery Cruise for seniors 60 and up? Magnificent buffets, live entertainment, headline cabaret shows, full action, casino, poker, bingo, dancing, discos.
With Storm and Norman on Florida's talk leader, WFTL.
23 minutes before 9. Oh, we've been far too serious today. Let's go to Harriet. Yes.
You're the light of my life.
No way, that's Pat Boone.
Wonderful, I feel great.
Why? Pat Boone does that.
Listen, if Reno say she is a lesbian, I don't know. But if they passed a law for homosexuals to go in the Army without any questions asked, what's the difference? What's the difference if she is a lesbian?
None at all to me.
Okay, that's what I wanted to put across to everyone else. I don't know why she'd be voted down.
Well, you see, one of the things that I've been able to do over the years is become a student of politics and assess the current political climate. And if it were revealed nationally that Janet Reno were a lesbian and she were not to advise the Clinton administration of that prior to her nomination, and she was so nominated, it would just become another source of embarrassment for the Clinton administration. And it would be something that the national talk shows would jump all over, because for the first time in a long time, it seems that the requirements for getting a job, you're not allowed to. You know what's funny? If you start putting this in perspective,
right.
You're not allowed to ask someone whether they're. You know, when you advertise a job now in the newspaper, in the classified, you're not allowed to put wanted male or female.
Just like you're not allowed to put black or white.
Right, but it's going to be. The world is going to become so screwed up that the requirement for getting a job, you're not going to be allowed to ask somebody if they're male or female, if they're black or white, but you're going to be allowed to ask them whether or not they employ illegal aliens or whether they're straight or gay. Now, this is a little bit like the law that says that a daughter doesn't have to get the consent of a parent to get an abortion, but she does have to get approval from the parents to pierce her ears.
That's good. Anyway, the world's screwed up anyway. It couldn't be worse than it is.
And that's why here on American talk shows, the real question is not necessarily where to find social justice, but how to find a good pastrami sandwich, or where to get some good grilled swordfish, like at the Bread of Life. If you're looking for organic produce, you get their lettuce. If you're looking for nutrients, you get their amino acids. If you're looking for great tabbouleh salad, you go to the Bread of Life. Don't you see? We can answer questions like that for you. I can tell you where to get recycled paper products at the Bread of Life. I can tell you they're at Capital Bank Plaza in Fort Lauderdale at 2388 North Federal Highway. I can tell you that they have their own homemade whole wheat bread and They make chocolate mousse pie with the carob raisins. I can tell you that it's like the natural kind of healthy place to go. But I can't tell you how to solve all the social crises in America in 3 hours in the morning.
I know, but you do a good job.
I try to do my best.
I know.
I think, you know what Richie Gerber at the Bread of Life would say? He would say if everybody ate there every day, their brains would be fed with so many nutrients and they would become so healthy that we would all be able to walk barefoot in the grass and kiss each other and make huggy-huggy, and the world would come to peace with one another.
Good question. I don't know if I should ask it over the air, but do you play chess?
You know, there's a friend of mine in Hallandale that's been bugging me to play chess for months and months, and I really know I'm going to go there. Are you allowed to play chess in Hallandale, or is that one of the anti-fun
Oh, there's
things
plenty
they
of
have?
things they say no to.
Well, you know, I really want to congratulate the city of Hopelesswood because that, of course, is sometimes called Hollywood. They wanted to take that shell at Johnson Street and turn it towards the beach. They wanted to create areas where people could play chess and checkers on the beach. They wanted to have a place where people would go skating on the beach. They wanted to create what they called fun zones.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of Hollywood immediately, kind of like the people of Hallandale last year when they said, that could we open up part of the beach to the public so everybody could enjoy it? Remember what the Hallandale went crazy? They went zonkers. Mayor Sonny, whatever his name is, had all sorts of cardiac arrest, and we were feeding him digitalis in the morning. Now Hollywood is doing the same thing.
The reason why I asked you is I have a computerized chess set that I want to sell to someone.
Well, I'll
No.
You know, just take out an ad on FTL. What can I tell you?
I did, but I didn't get much of a response.
Well, I'm not here to promote computerized chess sets.
I'm
But
not asking you to do that. I just overheard that you said something about chess.
well, I was thinking, yeah, I do play chess, but what I was thinking about, now that you reminded me of it, is this terrible situation in Hopelesswood where they are now trying to ban having fun zones along the beach. I guess they're afraid people might come and use it.
Well, they can dress practically naked, but they can't have fun zones.
No, they're not allowed. Thank you for your call, Harriet. Got to cut you off. They're not allowed to dress naked in Hollywood. In fact, if you're naked, you're not actually getting dressed, are you? Hollywood, of course, is that place where the mayor a few years ago required the painter who showed somebody's bare buns hugging a woman sitting along the seawall, and they painted a mural on a building. They required them to paint it off. Remember that? They required them to take it off. And once again, can I ask you a question, Steve? Can I ask you a question? All right. Can we talk on the air about something? Steve Kane just walked in. Every morning, you come into the studio while I'm on the air broadcasting, and you shuffle through your papers on the air.
I didn't shuffle through papers. There are no papers.
These are your notes for your ads.
No,
for
they're
your
not
many
notes.
ads.
These are in plastic sleeves.
Yes, I noticed that.
There's
You
no
took my
shuffling,
advice.
and if you don't have the sense of concentration, let somebody walk into your studio and walk out, I'm going to have even more doubts than I already have.
In other words, I'm glad you decided to organize yourself and put it in plastic sheets, your copy like I do. I think that's a good idea.
Well, you know, you are the master of
Now,
creative copy.
Why is it necessary
style
for you
myself
to come,
after you.
Why can't you shuffle your copy and organize yourself, A, during the break between the show,
Norm,
B,
I don't
during
mean to
a break.
I understand you have no calls, okay, and I understand
Steve,
you're
Steve,
hard-pressed
that
for
is
issues
not-
to
no,
talk
no,
about.
no, the bottom
but I
line-
have to go cut some spots.
Well, do me a favor. Can we make a rule here that your thing was that everybody had to come clean? Jesse Jackson admitted that he had experimented with pot, and all these candidates for president, including Bruce Babbitt, who's now the Interior Secretary, admitted that they had smoked pot at some time, and everyone was coming forward, and shock of all shocks, people admitted to the fact that sometime during their life they had gotten high.
Right. I bet you this.
And now we're doing the same thing with this illegal alien thing, and yet nobody's asking anybody about the pot issue anymore.
I venture to say that if we asked every congressman, every senator about their financials when they have employees working for them, we'd have an empty Congress.
Well, I think I joked yesterday that if we were to say that our goal was to cut the overcrowding in federal government, you know, the fact that it's too bloated. If we eliminated everybody that ever appointed an illegal alien to work for him, we would certainly cut the deficit right away.
Absolutely. Take care and have a good day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
About, you know what? I can't believe it's, February 9th? And on March 6th, I'll be sitting at Yankee Stadium at Commercial Boulevard. I'll be watching spring training. And in a couple of weeks, the Marlins are going to be up at Cocoa Beach, and you hear about this new scoreboard at Joe Robbie Stadium. I can't wait. And if you are, like I am, a number 34 fan, believe it or not, you tell me who number 34 is, and you've got a $20 gift certificate right now to Brothers. First caller to tell me who, when I say you're a number 34 fan, who am I thinking of? Wolfman Jack, you want to try it?
What, 34?
Yeah.
No, I don't know who it is.
All right, what's your comment today?
My comment today, Norman, is if they catch you at Holiday Park in the parking lot, parking your car, your Lexus backwards, you're in trouble. You know what that means, don't you know?
Well, I know exactly what you mean. You're suggesting that I'm picking up young kids at Holiday Park, and that's just not true. But thanks for your thought, Jack. Boy, I'll tell you. They won't catch me in my Lexus, but you know what they will catch me in Holiday Park? They will catch me on my new Cannondale M300 Cruiser that I picked up from the International Bicycle Shop. And, boy, the other day when I was playing volleyball at Holiday Park and got off on my bicycle and went through their bike paths, I am so invigorated. I am so psyched about getting this bicycle and getting to go bike riding again through Victoria Park. It is awesome. It is so much fun. Got to do it more often. All right, Walt has the answer. Walt is about to win a prize then.
Oh.
When I talk about number 34, who am I talking about?
Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle?
That's close, isn't it?
Not even close. Mantle wore number 7, and the rookie year
then
wore
it was
number 6.
Mantle.
What are you thinking about?
34.
What are you thinking
You know what a
about?
34 is?
I'm thinking about a left-hander the Marlins could really use. That would be a great selection. Get Gary Hughes on the line. I mean, what a great opportunity for the Marlins to sign an outstanding ball player with a great past and potential future who's looking to come back. I can't believe you're thinking
Looking to come back?
Not even close. All right, you thought you had the answer, but let's go to TJ. I think he might. Hello.
I know him.
Yeah, how are you?
I know I'm wrong, but I'm going way, way back. 34, Eddie Mixes.
I'm not
Hodges.
thinking Eddie Mixes. I'm thinking somebody right now. I'm thinking about somebody today, TJ. I know you're my sports and trivia buff, but I'm thinking somebody today.
I see.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, that's a bad question. They already have a 34 on the Marlins. It's Brian Harvey, pitcher.
I'm not thinking Brian Harvey.
How can they have another 34? What do you have, a 34A and a 34B?
Listen, I'm not talking about Dolly Parton's breasts either. What I'm suggesting to you here is that there's a ball player who has worn number 34 for a long time that wouldn't hurt the Marlins right now, but might help them, okay? Hank, you're on FTL.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the answer, but I wanted to ask you your opinion on something.
All right, we can certainly opinionate.
All right, what's your opinion on Clinton letting people from out of the country who have AIDS inside?
I can't get into that with 2.5 minutes left in the show. You'll have to talk about that another time.
Okay.
What was the question again, though, so I can keep it in mind?
All right, what is your opinion on the fact that Clinton is signing a bill supposedly today allowing people that have AIDS from Europe and Asia to come into this country?
Oh, I've never had any problem with people with different kinds of diseases coming into America. This is the only disease we've ever come up with. You're making the presumption that simply because somebody has AIDS that they're going to engage in unsafe sexual conduct. That's what cost us the International AIDS Conference being held in Boston last year and why it had to get switched over to Amsterdam because of that regressive policy that the Bush administration followed. It was so damning that people that were addressing the international AIDS crisis weren't even able to come to Boston for 2 weeks for a conference. Shocking, shocking. Of course, I'm sure Mr. Kane might have an opinion which is entirely inconsistent with that, and I see him in the other studio shaking his head in disbelief. Bob, you're on FTL. You were on FTL. Line 3.
Hi, Aaron Craver.
No, I'm not thinking Aaron. He's a football player. He's a running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think he would do well for the Marlins as a left-handed pitcher. Do you?
No.
But thanks for trying.
Marlins.
All right, let's go. Line 1. Who is this?
Tommy John.
No, Tommy John. Carrie, it's not Tommy John. Tommy John wore, I think, 25 or 26, and I got to tell you, when I think about the fact that the Marlins have signed Jerry Don Gleaton and Bob McClure, and I think they picked up Colonel Klink from Oakland, who never went more than a third of an inning in his life. I think
Sandy Koufax is not looking for a comeback.
All right, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Okay.
You're wrong. Okay. I got to tell you that I'll take. Listen, I'm going to 3 quick calls. Just name a name. Quick. Take a guess.
Valenzuela.
You got it right. You're a winner, Fernando Valenzuela. That's who I was thinking of. Who's this?
Al Rosenberg.
All right, Al Rosenberg, you're a winner. I was thinking number 34. He pitched in the Mexican All-Star game last weekend. He was the winning pitcher, went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. Wouldn't it be great if we could line up Fernando Valenzuela to play for the Florida Marlins? And wouldn't it be great if we could all, this weekend, have a wonderful night together at the Cabaret, old chum? That's right. Majestically lit, elegantly refined, incredible decor. What a wonderful night it was. Female impersonators at their best. It's Barbara Streisand, Tina Turner, Dionne Warwick, and more, all at the Cabaret in the downtown fashionable historic district of Fort Lauderdale, located at the corner of Southwest 2nd Street and Southwest 3rd Avenue. Come to the Cabaret, old chum, and enjoy an evening of dining and dance and music and song and pure elegance like the Jukebox Review was in Brooklyn, like Finocchio's in San Francisco, like Victor Victoria the movie. You will have the time of your life watching the music, enjoying the food, seeing the songs. You'll be part of many FTL listeners that are already finding out about the incredible Cabaret. Call them today at 467-3456 for reservations. Thanking you for your time this time. Until next time, I'll see you tomorrow. Valenzuela for the Marlins.
Life is a cabaret.
Talk to us, AM 14, WFTL, Fort Lauderdale.